एकदा चेक करा ना सर युट्यूबला.
एकच मिनिट.
Yes. Over to Moite sir.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you all for celebration of 76th Republic Day on the platform of our Federation of Indian Industry and Professionals. Dear guest, we are very happy to know you are going to celebrate with us. And certainly, today, the big day for us. Friends, when you are going to have this occasion, we celebrate with such a personality where we salute to our defense sector. About FIIP, we are going to have the thought here over. Sir, slide put dakana. FIIP. So before that, we will stand for national anthem and we will salute our country for this 76th national celebration festival of our Republic Day. So I request everyone to stand and to have a salute to our country with this Janagana. I request everyone, please stand. Sir, play kara.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
भारत माता की
Jai. Thank you, friends. Now let me brief about our FIIP. भारतीय उद्योग एवं व्यावसायिक महासंघ है हमारा. तो दोस्तों, हम इस फेडरेशन के द्वारा क्या काम करते हैं, हमारी मनसी क्या है, मनीषा क्या है, इसके बारे में बताऊंगा. FIIP is a unique multi-stakeholder organization of visionary industrialists, businessmen and professionals. It is a non-profit organization and is established on 1st October 2020. Objective is to boost small, medium business movement across the country. It serves its members and whole society through private, public, corporate sector friends. FIIP is a lifeline for startups and MSMEs leader. When we are talking about these all things, so we work practically and we do hand-holding activity. Next. FIIP is a crucial platform for networking and collaboration, each stakeholder working for nation building and basically cause and Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we are basically working for making ourselves sufficient. FIIP is actively engaged in the welfare of business community and general society. We have a lot of other exercises where we are working practically. So we work on ground. So it encourages debate, organize engagement programs with policymakers, private, public and multinational companies, chambers of commerce, industrial and professional association. So we have our connect with these all professional connects and associations friends. FIIP has created a cluster network with 40,000 plus GST practitioners and made available a platform for networking and consuming, especially consensus building fund. So friends, there are regular activities are going. So what is our vision? Our vision is to facilitate and boost entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial development in the country, to support socio-eco development leaders throughout the nation, to encourage women power in various fields to make Atmanirbhar Nari. So we have our wing also there. Next, our mission is creating a world-class talent body of 5 lakh influential and powerful internationalist entrepreneurs, businessmen and women, and professionals through FIIP platform within 10 years. Our DNA is sustaining growth, and altogether we are going ahead with that particular activity and empowering the thought process. Next, creation is the fundamental our DNA in that line. When I'm talking about this particular the purpose is helping business people within this territory of this our state of Maharashtra and entire country itself. So we have reached entire country. We have helped many concerned SMEs, supporting economic development, creating industrial insights, inculcating industrial development, facilitating forums and for professionals, solving problems with the right solution, enhancing skills among business owners, and creating a common platform for building interpersonal relationship. Support for micro, small, and medium enterprises, businesses altogether. Formatting applied strategy to meet challenges of various industries in the country. We further basically think to do a lot of activities in that line. Next. So before proceeding towards program, I request our founder director, Navnathji Devkar. He will brief us about the purpose of today, the 26th January, the Republic Day, and then we'll proceed for the further session. I request Mr. Navnath Devkarji, please take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moite. So, नमस्कार, मैं नवनाथ दत्तात्रेय देवकर आप सभी का फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडियन इंडस्ट्री एंड प्रोफेशनल्स के इस अद्भुत मंच पर दिल से स्वागत करता हूं। आज का दिन हम सभी के लिए विशेष है क्योंकि हम भारत के 76वें गणतंत्र दिवस का जश्न मना रहे हैं। यह मंच हमें एकजुट होकर न केवल हमारे देश की प्रगति पर विचार करने का अवसर देता है, बल्कि आगे के लिए नई दिशाओं और संभावनाओं पर चर्चा करने का भी अवसर देता है। दोस्तों, आप सभी की उपस्थिति इस बात का प्रमाण है कि हम सब मिलकर भारत को एक सशक्त और प्रगतिशील राष्ट्र बनाने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। हर छोटा कदम बड़ा बदलाव लाने की ओर बढ़ता है। हर छोटा कदम बड़ा बदलाव लाने की ओर बढ़ता है और आज का ये आयोजन उसी दिशा में हमारा एक कदम है। हर सुबह हमें ये याद दिलाती है कि हमारी मेहनत और ईमानदारी से ही हमारे देश का भविष्य लिखा जाएगा। हर सुबह हमें ये याद दिलाती है कि हमारी मेहनत और ईमानदारी से ही हमारे देश का भविष्य लिखा जाएगा। आज का दिन सिर्फ जश्न का नहीं बल्कि नए संकल्पों का भी है। आज हम सभी गर्व और उत्साह के साथ भारत का 76वां गणतंत्र दिवस मना रहे हैं। ये दिन हमें हमारे संविधान और उसके द्वारा दिए गए मूल अधिकारों की याद दिलाता है। दोस्तों, 26 जनवरी 1950 को हमारा संविधान लागू हुआ और भारत ने एक लोकतांत्रिक गणराज्य का रूप लिया। ये केवल एक दस्तावेज नहीं है दोस्तों, बल्कि हमारे देश के हर एक नागरिक के सपनों को और अधिकारों का संरक्षक है। आज का दिन हमें अपने कर्तव्यों का और देश के प्रति हमारी जिम्मेदारियों का भी याद दिलाता है। फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडियन इंडस्ट्री एंड प्रोफेशनल की स्थापना का उद्देश्य था उद्योगपतियों, प्रोफेशनल्स और उद्यमियों को एक ऐसा मंच प्रदान करना जहां वे एक साथ आकर न केवल अपने व्यवसाय को आगे बढ़ा के सके, बल्कि देश के विकास में भी योगदान दें। हमारा मानना है कि भारत की असली ताकत हमारे लोग हैं, जो आज दुनिया का सबसे ज्यादा पॉपुलेशन हमारे यहाँ पे है। तो हमारा मानना है कि देश की सबसे ताकत हमारे लोग ही है, उनके विचार, उनकी मेहनत, उनका दृष्टिकोण। हमारा जो फेडरेशन है उसका लक्ष्य है कि उद्योग और प्रोफेशनल्स को एक ऐसा मार्ग दिखाएं जहां न केवल उसका व्यवसाय समृद्ध हो, बल्कि वह सामाजिक और आर्थिक विकास में भी महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाए। माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, पिछले 75 वर्षों से भारत ने अपना आर्थिक और औद्योगिक क्षेत्र में अभूतपूर्व प्रगति की है। इसमें मैं कहूंगा मेक इन इंडिया, स्टार्टअप इंडिया, डिजिटल इंडिया, आत्मनिर्भर भारत जैसे अभियानों ने हमारे उद्योगों को नई दिशा दी। आज भारत दुनिया का 5वां सबसे बड़ा अर्थव्यवस्था वाला देश है। हमारी तकनीकी क्षमताएं बढ़ी हैं। हमारे युवा उद्यमियों ने वैश्विक स्तर पर भारत का नाम रोशन किया है। फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडियन इंडस्ट्रीज एंड प्रोफेशनल्स इस बात पर ध्यान केंद्रित करता है कि इन जो सारी सरकारी योजनाएं हैं और प्रोग्राम्स है, इसका लाभ हर एक उद्योग और प्रोफेशनल तक पहुंचाए। ये फीप का सेंट्रलाइज पॉइंट है। दोस्तों, इसके साथ साथ में जो हमारा देश का जो संविधान है, वो हमें स्वतंत्रता, समानता और न्याय का अधिकार देता है। उद्योग जगत में मैं कहूंगा कि ये जो मूल्य है हमारे स्वतंत्रता, समता और न्याय, इसका हम सब लोगों ने आदर करना चाहिए। नैतिकता, पारदर्शिता और समाज के प्रति जिम्मेदारी किसी भी व्यवसाय की रीढ़ होनी चाहिए। फेडरेशन ये सुनिश्चित करने का प्रयास कर रहा है कि हमारे उद्योग संविधान के इन मूलभूत सिद्धांतों का पालन करें। दोस्तों, अब हमें यह सोचना होगा कि अगले 25 वर्षों में हमारा देश को कहां हमें लेके जाना है। हाँ दोस्तों, 2047 में हमारा देश जब स्वतंत्रता के 100 वर्ष, 100 साल पूरा करेगा, तो हमारा लक्ष्य क्या होना चाहिए कि भारत दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था और एक औद्योगिक हब होना चाहिए, एक औद्योगिक शक्ति बनना चाहिए। इसमें डिजिटल क्रांति बनेगी, हरित तकनीक बनेगा और शाश्वत विकास, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट में हमारे उद्योगों की महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका होगी। फेडरेशन का यह भी प्रयास रहेगा कि वो हर एक युवा उद्यमी और प्रोफेशनल को सही मार्गदर्शन करे और संसाधन उपलब्ध करा के दिए। दोस्तों, हम सभी का उद्देश्य सिर्फ मुनाफा कमाना नहीं होना चाहिए। हमें ग्रामीण विकास, रूरल डेवलपमेंट, कृषि उद्योग, एग्रीकल्चर बिजनेसेस, महिला सशक्तिकरण और शिक्षा जैसे क्षेत्रों में भी योगदान देना होगा। फेडरेशन ऐसे ही कार्यक्रम और परियोजनाओं पर काम कर रहा है जिसे समाज को सकारात्मक बदलाव लाया जाए। दोस्तों, आज हम सभी को यह प्रण लेना चाहिए कि हम अपने कार्यों और उद्यमियों के माध्यम से भारत को और मजबूत बनाएं। डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर ने संविधान बनाते समय एक बात कही थी, हमारा संविधान कितना भी अच्छा क्यों न हो, हमारा संविधान कितना भी अच्छा क्यों न हो, वो सिर्फ उतना ही अच्छा या खराब होगा जितना उसे लागू करने वाले लोग रहें। दोस्तों, आप समझ रहे हैं मैं क्या बात कर रहा हूं? ये डॉक्टर बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर ने जब संविधान बनाया तभी लिखा था और तभी बोला था कि संविधान कितना अच्छा है और कितना अच्छा होगा, ये कौन डिसाइड करेगा? कि उसको जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन करने वाले हैं, जो उसको डे टू डे बेसिस पे यूज करने वाले हैं, वही संविधान कितना अच्छा है और कितना और अच्छा बनेगा ये डिसाइड करने वाला है। तो इसलिए हम सब लोगों को, हमें अपने अपने जो कार्य है, जो वर्किंग कल्चर है, उसको सही तरह से आगे लेके जाना है और उसको उस लेवल पे लेके जाना है कि जो संविधान ने जो मूल्य दिए हैं, वो मूल्य का अगर हम लोग सही तरह से अनुपालन करेंगे तो हमारे बिजनेस में हम लोग ग्रो लेके जाएंगे, हमारे कंट्री के डेवलपमेंट में हम हमारा सहभाग लेके जाएंगे। यस, मैं फेडरेशन के हर एक सदस्य, यहाँ पे जितने भी फेडरेशन के मेंबर्स है, वो हर एक सदस्य और हमारे देश के हर एक नागरिक से आग्रह करना चाहता हूँ कि वो अपने अपने क्षेत्र में बेहतर से बेहतर योगदान दे, ताकि हम लोग हमारे खुद के लिए और हमारे देश के लिए कंट्रीब्यूट कर सके। सो लास्ट में मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा, सपनों का भारत कार्यों से ही बनता है, सपनों का भारत कार्यों से ही बनता है और वो कार्यों से ही बनेगा। सो आइए हम सब मिलकर ऐसा भारत बनाइए जिस पर हमें और अपने आने वाली पीढ़ियों को गर्व हो। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
थैंक यू नवनाथ जी।
ओवर टू डॉक्टर।
थैंक यू नवनाथ जी, आपने जो सही लफ्ज में हमें बताया है, इसलिए मैं आपका आभारी हूं। फील्ड मार्शल सैम मानेकशॉ कहते हैं, किसी भी देश की सुरक्षा उसकी ताकत और उसका सम्मान का आधार होती है। दोस्तों, राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा केवल एक देश की ढाल नहीं है, उस नींव का एक प्रतीक है जिस पर उसकी प्रगति और समृद्धि टिकी हुई। भारत के संदर्भ में हमारे सशस्त्र बल इस नींव के अटूट रक्षक है, जो सुनिश्चित करते हैं कि 1 अरब से अधिक सपने शांति के फल फूले सके और हिमालय की ऊंचाई से लेकर हिंद महासागर के विशाल विस्तार तक वह केवल हमारी सीमाओं की रक्षा करते ही, बल्कि हमारे संप्रभुता मूल्यों और लोकतंत्र की आकांक्षाओं का भी संरक्षण करते हैं। तो दोस्तों, ये जो चंद बातें मैंने कही हैं कि आने वाले हमारे जो स्पीकर है, उनका जो भी बात रखने वाला है यहाँ, उसके बारे में यहाँ मैंने संक्षिप्त में कहा है। हमारे आज के स्पीकर हैं कर्नल डॉक्टर राम अठावले जी, और वो जो बात करने वाले हैं, हमारे वो थॉट प्रोसेस में न्यू हॉरिजन्स फॉर इंडस्ट्री के हिसाब से नेशनल सिक्योरिटी रोल्स ऑफ द आर्म फोर्सेस इन द नेशन बिल्डिंग। तो उनका परिचय देते समय मुझे गर्व है। उनके परिचय के बारे की हम बताएंगे दोस्तों। आदरणीय डॉक्टर कर्नल राम अठावले जी के बारे में, जैसा आई एम गोइंग टू इंट्रोड्यूस हिम। वेटरनरी आर्म्ड corps officer, H1 batch alumnus of prestigious defense institution including NDA, IMA, AWC, and DSSC. Command experience: led an armed regiment in Operation Parakram, held key staff role over 3 decades. So it's a proud moment. He's a 3rd generation and is serving for our nation. And we are very happy, friends. We have such a legacy with us. CBRN specialist, 20 plus years of expertise in CBRN. That's what chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. The pride and very important thing to mention is here that he is the key supporter to various entrepreneurs in the country because of his speciality and the contribution of 20 plus years for the defense industry. So he's going to be a more and more, going to add the things in that line. Presentation, please. Navnaji, share the presentation. Navnaji, share the presentation. Yeah. So security and incident management, he worked on that. So Academic achievement, whatever he has done, he is a PhD in CBRN, that is counter-terrorism, masters in defense studies, disaster management, and business administration. You can understand what level he has basically contributed from academic point also. His service, he converted into his academy, and therefore he is serving now nation in a different perspective. Very shortly, we will come to know about it. Global advisor, he is key CBRN expert for AU, advising 11 African nations on the CBRN risk mitigation since 2015 to 2018. Consultant and educator. He is honorary professor, guest faculty for Indian and international universities, consultant for AU projects and private enterprises. He is author and friend. I'm very happy to say that he is basically written on that toxic pollutants frequency contributor in that line. So he's a very, very global knowledgeable personality. He has his contribution in CBRN journals, and he is a global speaker forum, and that way he's working. So social etiquettes, he's a founder member of Meta Forums Foundation and driving a seat in that line. So friend, we welcome Colonel Dr. Ram Athavale. He is going to guide us on today that what role, the key role the defense is playing, and how we all are going to be benefited in coming days to make our India strong, and our concern love and our patriotism is going to be flourish through his talk. Sir, over to you.
Thank you so much. At the outset, I would like to thank Mr. Navnath and Dr. Mohite for having invited me to speak today to all of you on this important topic of national security and how the armed forces are contributing towards effective nation building. I shall share my screen now so that we can go ahead with the presentation.
Yes, sir, please.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. At the outset, let me wish you all a glorious Republic Day. गणतंत्र दिवस की आप सभी को हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं मेरी तरफ से। मैं आज आपसे जिस विषय पे बात करना चाहूंगा वो है नेशनल सिक्योरिटी एंड रोल ऑफ आर्म्ड फोर्सेस इन नेशन बिल्डिंग। ये हमारे मेटामॉर्फ्स फाउंडेशन का एक उद्देश्य भी है कि हम देशवासियों को अवगत कराएं कि हम जो आर्म्ड फोर्सेस है वो किस तरह से हमारे देश के लिए, हमारे नागरिकों के लिए क्या काम कर रहे हैं। आइए चलिए देखिए किस तरह से ये काम होता है। National security. The first thing we need to know is what is national security. As the name suggests, it simply means to ensure a secure nation. The security of a state, देश की सुरक्षा, has many dimensions. It could be from territorial security to economic security to energy security, physical security, environmental security, and so on. Many aspects come into play. Now, these dimensions collectively correlate, and that is how national security is maintained. These are also the elements of a good national power. It works on all the three levels, from individual to the state to the international arena. There are many components which actually form the national security. But before we go on to the different components, let us understand what national security actually means. It means to maintain national integrity and sovereignty while maintaining security in its territory and safety of its citizens. Now, when we talk of national security, we are not just talking of the armed forces. We are also talking of a collective security which is there. And therefore, to maintain this kind of a security, you require justified political and constitutional system in the country. Along with that, You need a very strong economic system. You heard Mr. Navnath saying that India is the fourth largest economy in the world and we need to grow. And that is why that forms a very important facet of national security. To develop and maintain a satisfied society is another aspect which involves national security. It should be based on social justice, equality, and access to constitutional rights. And that is what our constitution lays down for us. To nurture a stable and sustainable environment and life system, we should all be able to live happily and healthily in our country. And that depends on how good our national security is. And in the end, to develop and maintain and uphold national values, our culture, and our ethnic identity as Bharat. There are many challenges which are there to national security. It's not just the border problems or adversarial issues from our enemies, but there are today hybrid challenges, hybrid threats that are coming up. It's not necessary to go to war. Even in peacetime, you have many challenges to your national security. It could be in the form of energy, it could be in the form of trade, it could even be in the form of ethnic movement, refugees, migrants, and so on. So these lines are blurring very fast, and we need to start catering for all these issues when we are talking of national security. Along with that, there are many technological challenges which are coming up. Technology is accelerating at a very fast pace. Today, we are talking of artificial intelligence, robotics, quantum computing, and so on. It's going to change the complete facade of what warfare and national security would stand for. At the same time, we are going to have a resource constraint. Everything is not going to be available in plenty, and therefore, we need to have proper budgets. We need to have a good political system without disagreements at the national level. Internally, you could have that. But when we are talking of national security, we need to be on the same page. And public opinion is very important to be together for good national security. Geopolitics, allied coordinations play a big role in national security. There are divergent national interests which can complicate consensus on collective strategies. Complex bilateral agreements and multinational relationships can compound the aspect of national security. Let us see what are the military components of national security. As far as the military components are concerned, we have primarily our armed forces, which are there, with three main aims: to deter hostile actions and maintain territorial integrity, to secure our borders, and to wage war if other means fail. This is possible only when you have sound and accurate intelligence and counterintelligence. So these are the two aspects which form part of the military components of national security. We now go to the non-military components of national security. These are ranging from economic security, environmental security, energy security, to have adequate energy and resources in your country, food security, adequate food for everyone, every citizen in your country, cyber security. Today, cyber is taking on a very, very important role, and we need to ensure that our systems are adequately protected and secure, because that is how your country, your citizen will remain secure, your economy will remain secure. Then we have the civil protection, ensuring there is public order in the citizen, protecting them from various types of calamities. Strong society can have a very strong positive impact on national security. Then we have political security. If you have a weak polity, it will impact your national security in a very adverse manner. There will be number of hawks who would be looking at your country to take advantage of that. And therefore, your political or polity of the country, your diplomatic core of the country needs to be strong to be able to get the positive impact on national security. Infrastructure security, protecting our critical infrastructures, our energy resources, our dams, power structure, industry, your government headquarters at different levels, all these form critical infrastructure of your country. And you need to protect that. Then we come to the cultural and ideological security. It is very important for a country to have an identity. And that identity will only be correctly imposed if you have cultural and ideological security. Nation's cultural heritage and its mainstream ideology needs to be preserved. Rule of law is very important. Without rule of law, there will be total mayhem on the streets. And therefore, protecting citizens' rights is very important. And last is the technological security. India today is a hub of science and technology. We have been actually exporting science and technology to the whole world. You see, all the top technological companies in the world, they are manned by Indian brains. And that is our strength. And we need to protect that strength of ours. It's a boon that we have that strength in our country. And we need to nurture it. Coming back to the executive arms of national security, the military part of it. Now, when we are talking of national security, there are three main aspects. External security, which is primarily dealt with by the armed forces under the Ministry of Defense. The armed forces consists of the Indian Army, the Indian Air Force, and the Indian Navy. These three forces are supplemented by protecting our border areas during peacetime by a number of agencies. During war, of course, the armed forces look after the borders. And the agencies which I'm now going to talk of, they come under the command of the armed forces during hostile periods. But during peacetime, it is these forces which control and manage and man our borders 24/7. These are Assam Rifles, Coast Guard, the Border Security Force, the Sashastra Seema Bal, and the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. If you look at the map on the right, you will see the markings where which of these forces controls what part of our borders. It is not that the Border Security Force controls the complete land border of the country. No. The BSF handles mostly the Punjab, Rajasthan, Gujarat border, up to a little bit about J&K. We have the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, which looks after the area right from south of Ladakh and down till the Nepal border. In the east, along the Arunachal front, we have the Sashastra Seema Bal, and the extreme eastern part, which is bordering Myanmar, basically, is handled by the Assam Rifles. If you look down below, in the coastal region, the peninsular part of our country, you will find it is the Coast Guard which is doing a yeoman service to the nation by guarding our coastal areas, by guarding our economic zones, both on the western board and the eastern board of the country, as also our island territories of the Lakshadweep and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which are very big places. Coming to internal security, the third part of security. Now, internal security deals with what happens within the country, for which it is not the armed forces or the border management agencies which are responsible. For within the country, we have three main central police forces, or central armed police forces as they are called. The first is the CRPF, or the Central Reserve Police Force, which also has a commando component called Cobra. Then we have the Central Industrial Security Force, which is more visible to all of us, because these are the people who are guarding us at important government buildings, at all airports, seaports, power plants, and all the government buildings. It is the CISF which also provides VIP security and helps in disaster management. We also have the National Security Guard, the NSG, which is India's counter-terrorism force. It's a very specialized force, and it is manned by people from the armed forces as also from the police forces. In addition to this, we have what we call the National Disaster Response Force, which is not actually for internal security, but more for disaster management in our country. We have 12 such battalions today, and I have not mentioned it here because they are not primarily for security, but for disaster management. They are sourced from all the border security agencies which I mentioned before and the CRPF. In addition to all this, we also have the state police forces of individual states in our country, including their counterterrorism units or commando units, which help maintain peace and order within that state. Collectively, all these put together are ensuring internal security in our country. Getting back to the armed forces. The armed forces of India are the fourth largest armed forces in the world. It is size-wise the second largest military force, totaling to more than 1.4 million people on active service. It is the world's largest volunteer army in the world. Most of the other countries have got what is called the joining made mandatory. The word for that is conscription. In India, our armed forces are totally voluntary. They have four major tasks. We shall discuss these tasks a little more in detail for different the armed forces. But in a nutshell, I mentioned about asserting territorial integrity, land, sea, and air, to defend the country if it is attacked by a foreign nation, an adversary, or even non-state actors, to support the civil administration and community in case of emergencies or disasters, and to participate in the United Nations peacekeeping programs or operations, because we have a commitment to the UN Charter. Let us see in detail what the Indian Army, Indian Navy, and the Indian Air Force have chalked out for themselves. As far as the Indian Army is concerned, it protects the country's borders, territorial integrity, and sovereignty. It also conducts humanitarian rescue operations during national disasters. You must have seen the Indian Army being called out for rescue and relief operations during most of the natural disasters which take place, and even man-made disasters at a lot of places. We have the largest component of peacekeeping in the United Nations peacekeeping missions. And of course, we also assist the government with internal threats in liaison with the Central Armed Police Forces for any internal security matters. The Indian Navy does similar tasks as far as the maritime arena is concerned. They protect India's maritime borders and the Indian Ocean interests. They work with the Coast Guard very closely to maintain order in the Indian maritime zones. It also cooperates with navies from other countries in maintaining sea lanes of integrity and ensure no piracy takes place in the sea waters. The Indian Navy, along with the Indian Air Force, has played a great role in evacuating Indian nationals from strife-torn foreign countries. The Indian Air Force also participates a lot in disaster management, but their primary role is to protect the country's airspace and defend against any aerial threats. It provides close air support to the Indian Army and the Indian Navy during operations and assists the civil power during natural disasters and internal disturbances. Let us now come to the second part of my talk. We have seen what the armed forces have been chartered to do. But over and above that, how do the Indian armed forces help assist the nation in strong nation building? Let us first clarify what is nation building. Nation building means shaping a national identity for our country. It should be based on our core values so as to mature as a strong and vibrant nation, proud and confident, backed by comprehensive national power to assume its rightful role in international affairs, to be recognized as a responsible nation, a free, independent nation. And that is where our armed forces have been and shall be key contributors towards nation building. Let us see which are the key areas where the Indian armed forces have been contributing. First is, of course, securing the nation, to provide a very secure environment to the country, a guarantor of national and territorial integrity that ensures the path to prosperity and development. Now, territorial security, border management, and even fighting wars to save our nation is the primary task of our armed forces. But along with that, our armed forces assist the government in strategic and national security policy making and crisis management planning. The service chiefs and senior officers at various levels form part of the National Security Council and the Strategic Planning Group at different levels, not just at the national level, but at state level also. They provide valuable direction and implementation protocols to the government on these matters. Counter-terror operations. Indian armed forces, especially the Indian Army, has been combating the scourge of violence and terrorism unleashed by secessionist elements and aided and abetted by adversarial powers from across the borders. Armed Forces, Special Operations Team, and the NSG have been fighting terrorists at various levels in various places across the country. They are trained in hostage rescue, bomb disposal, search and rescue missions, including heliborne extractions. We have also been providing humanitarian assistance and disaster relief to various parts of our country and even at times to other nations. For example, when the tsunami struck in 2004, December, it had also affected areas in Sri Lanka. And we had our Indian Navy and components of the Indian Army sent out to help our sister nation in the south to recoup and provide relief after the tsunami had struck them also. It's not that we didn't do the same for our own people. The Andaman Nicobar Islands, which were hit by the tsunami in 2004, have seen the role played by all three services of the Indian Armed Forces. They gave their everything to save lives there. And they were the people who suffered maximum casualties. Armed forces are peculiar in their structure, in their equipping profile, because they can run field hospitals. They have transportation assets. They have engineer plant equipment and reconnaissance and communication resources, which can be nationwide. which can move from one place to another in very fast time frame. And hence they are well suited to do this particular task for the country. The armed forces, because of the type of role that they are playing, have a very, very potent human resource potential. Today, you see armed forces personnel excelling, not just in the field which they are meant to excel, but also in fields outside. After they have shed their uniform and gone into the civil street, you find armed forces officers and personnel excelling in the private sector, in lateral government absorptions in other fields also. NCC is a very prime example where the armed forces are nurturing human resource of the country by instilling discipline, duty, and patriotism. Infrastructure development. Those of you who have been to our far-flung areas in the border areas would have seen the Indian Army working for infrastructure development, roads, bridges, culverts, flood management, all these kinds of things in totally inhospitable terrain is being done by the Indian Army and the border roads organizations, including the tunnels which were built in the north in J&K recently to enhance connectivity to far-flung areas. It is the armed forces which have contributed their manpower, their expertise in building these infrastructures. The armed forces have also helped in building schools, running medical facilities, habitat enhancement, and so on in distant border areas. Foreign missions. If you go to the United Nations headquarters and you ask which is the country which has provided the best peacekeeping potential in your peacekeeping missions, and they will say just one word: the Indian Armed Forces. We have been contributing to the UN peacekeeping force for many years, for many decades actually. And today, Indian armed forces are recognized for their competence, for their bravery, and for their acute management skills on the operational front during peacekeeping missions. We have been helping countries in terms of capacity building and capability development. In fact, today, in most of our training establishments of all the three armed forces, we have many officers and men from different friendly countries who are undergoing training and learning from our gallant armed forces. International evacuation operations. We have had many instances where Indian citizens who have got stranded in strike-torn countries, they need evacuation. Coupled with our diplomatic missions in these countries, Indian armed forces, especially the Air Force and the Navy, have come forward in spite of all the operational constraints which are there to evacuate our citizens and bring them back home. The motto not to leave anyone behind has been in the center. And lastly, I would say it is the confidence in the uniform. When you look at a soldier, when you look at an officer in his uniform, it gives you as a citizen a confidence. Yes, I'm in safe hands. Here are my armored force personnel who are going to look after me. And that kind of confidence, that kind of faith which is there, it goes beyond the other organs of the government. And armed forces today can proudly claim that they never ever fail. And that is the strength of our armed forces. In addition to all this which I've talked, The armed forces have also been playing a key role in local governance wherever there is a problem, in helping education, in public awareness programs, in building schools, in health and hygiene, running primary health clinics, running field hospitals, helping people in distress has been one of the mottos of the armed forces of our country. A little bit on defense technology and industry. As most of you are from the industrial background, I thought it would be good to add this aspect of the armed forces to this talk of mine. India's defense industry is a key part of the country's economy and national security. It includes the development and production of military equipment such as aircraft, missile, tanks, small arms, submarines, radar systems, artillery guns, and so on. Today, we have an annual defense production which has crossed 1.27 lakh crores. Our defense exports have reached a record high of 21,000 crores in the last fiscal year. This has happened because of certain key features of our defense industry. The first is government oversight. The government has and its agencies control and coordinate very closely the defense industry. What is the direction that we want our industry to take? What is the areas that we want our industry to grow? And for that, there needs to be a very, very close public-private collaboration. Research and development, which erstwhile used to be restricted to the DRDO, the Defense Research and Development Organization, which is doing a yeoman service to the country and is recognized not just in India but world over for their expertise. Today, DRDO is helping nurture private R&D and ensuring that we today get the most latest kind of technology for our defense industry. Defense industry plays a key part in India's national security on the strategic level also, thanks to all the exports that are taking place. It makes us a viable power. It adds to the deterrence value which our country can project. And for that, a very key component is self-reliance. The government today is working to increase domestic production and reduce reliance on imports. What are the industries which contribute to defense? When we talk of defense industry, it is not specifically just a defense industry. You can divide them into three heads, like I have shown on this slide. The first one is base industries: metal, electronics, plastics and glass, textiles, rubber, chemicals and petrochemicals. Now, when you translate this into complex technologies which are required by the defense, we come to alloys, molding, forging, precision engineering, and so on. We also come to computerized modules, optronics, vetronics, high-end polymers, laminations. In textiles, we are looking at canvases, specialized textiles for different uses by the armed forces. As far as rubber is concerned, a whole lot of a wide arena is there, from aramids, strengthened rubber, to even making tires and wheels which can withstand any kind of climates and terrain conditions which the armed forces need. Chemicals and petrochemicals is a vast field, and there are many uses which are there within the defense for chemicals and petrochemicals, from fuels to explosives and propellants. Everything comes from chemicals and petrochemicals. On the right hand side, I have mentioned about system integrators. So taking forward, say for example, the metal part, you get alloys and moldings and forgings, and you then make them into gun barrels, missiles, hulls, fuselage of aircrafts and ships, small arms, tanks, artillery, aircraft. All of these are coming with a lot of metal in them. Similarly, you look at electronics. All sensors, radars, robotics, drones, communication equipment, optoelectronics, guidance systems for our missiles is all coming from base electronics. Similarly, from plastics or textiles, all your tents, shelters, spatial tarpaulin covers, uniforms of different kinds are all coming from the textile industry. And last, if you see from the chemicals and petrochemicals, you have all kinds of ammunition, warheads, shells, special paints, greases, fuels of all kinds, oils and lubricants are all coming from chemicals and petrochemicals. So it is not defense industry per se. It is contributory effect of all the base industries and the complex technologies which go on to make what the defense requires. I'll just put that into a little more perspective by showing you this figure. Now take this tank, for example. The figure on the screen is an Arjun tank made in India. Now, from high-end polymers, explosives, propellants, paints, laminates, ammunition of different kinds, warheads, shells, the paint on top, camouflage paints, all kinds of greases, oils, and fuels which the tank will use in different sub-assemblies which are mounted on the tank. You have computerized modules, optronics, sighting systems, vetronics, vehicle electronics as they are called, communication equipment of different kinds. Then you have the various types of shelters which come along with this tank. You have fabrics and rubbers. You have rubber wheels around the metal part, which you see those 7 on the bottom. You have very, very strong rubber molded onto those wheels, which doesn't come out in any kind of terrain which the tank has to move at whatever speeds. Then you have seals, bushes, covers, pads of different sizes and shapes, which go into various sub-assemblies on the tank. And of course, the bulk of this tank is metals, alloys, moldings and forgings. Precision engineering to put this complex weapon system together to deliver the might which you want on the battlefield accurately, to assist the soldiers on the ground in the manner which it should. All this is possible because of all those multifarious industries which are contributing to making this one machine. Today, with the Make in India push by the government, we have seen many private players coming up and helping our country get best equipment which we need. There's a huge amount of public-private partnership. Many global defense industries are partnering with Indian firms today. The Ministry of Defense has initiated a number of programs like the Defense Innovation Organization, which controls most of these programs. We have the Defense India Startup Challenge or the DISC. We have the Innovations for Defense Excellence, where new innovative ideas are nurtured, awarded, and then translated into doable projects. And we also have the SPARK, the Support for Prototype and Research Kickstart. It is more related to the R&D which is required for the other 3. A lot of expertise and R&D has been instituted. A very stable base is in place. And today, our defense industry is growing at a fast and sure pace, thanks to industry of various kinds. In the end, I would just like to say that the Indian armed forces have ensured that India is built into a strong nation by upholding the constitution and ensuring that due democratic processes are allowed to function. This has been an invaluable contribution of the Indian armed forces in building the nation that we are so proud of. We are also very proud of our armed forces. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. I have finished here. In case
Thank you,
there are
sir.
any questions, I
Yeah,
would be more than happy to take them on.
certainly, sir. Certainly.
If it's okay, I can stop sharing now.
Yeah, yeah. Stop sharing.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. It's really the great privilege to be here with you, sir.
Thank you.
The way
Thank
you have explained the aspects of three different working armed forces, which not only enlightened us, but motivated us to think more practically and more productive way in days to come. The way the information is shared by you is geared up us today that how industry can contribute in a larger scale for our country enhancement and nation building activity. Very true, sir. This is what we have to be come forward and to involve towards that excellence and to bring that qualitative thought processes with the core values of our nation. The nation is built up with our core values. We Indians are proud of our culture, and we, every Indian, always have that authority, that learning, and humble approach with a great patriotic approach by every Indian. As you people work for the nation, practically on the ground floor of these armed forces, but we as a citizen are bound to work and support to you people to just make our country number one in the globe. So definitely, sir, it's a really the eye-opening thought process to industrialists, to many more youngsters to get attracted with the innovation from engineering perspective, electronic perspective, computer perspective, from biology, psychology, chemistry, what not, sir. Every stream goes through the heart of our activities of the defense. And friends, I'm sure today, Colonel Dr. Ram has given that insight to all of us that, hey, India is waiting for you. Just go and knock the door of opportunity. There are a n number of opportunities laid down by government of India, and we have to take initiative to just knock the door. The door will be open. With this, sir, the contribution what you absolutely put in front of us really, just yield us not in that, but yes, how we can go ahead in coming days on this particularly 76th Republic Day. I hope the people who are gathered here will make a sense of learning, will make a sense of belongingness, and will make a sense of integrity and unity to make our country the most not only beautiful but number one in economic, in social aspects for the global perspective. I'm damn sure, friends, you might have a number of questions to ask him, but the way we understood today, armed forces are not what we think externally. The armed forces, what we today realize that how it works for the entire safety, security, not of the borders, but of our lives and the entire Bharat Mata and entire globe humanity. So it's not work for the only the border, but it's work for the hearts and human values altogether. Thank you very much, sir. This is
Thank you.
really going to be more learnable with you in days to come in this platform.
Yeah.
And I'm very sure that people may have some questions. And
Sure.
if you have questions, I will ask Atulji to take over the thought process. Atulji, our director of FIIP.
So, first of all, thank you very much for the very great informative this lecture. And as per Modi sir mentioned, it is truly that the new things came up about the our armed forces. If there are any questions, please go ahead. And first question I would like to ask. We always compare our armed forces with the other countries' armed forces. With the number by ranking, you have mentioned how much rank uh, we are as a India stand there. But in with regards to strength and technology, can you please mention some comparison between the other big countries and India?
Okay, that's a good question. India today stands as the fourth most powerful country as far as the military goes. And we have that kind of expertise. But our expertise in human resource, in our soldiers, in our airmen, in our sea warriors, is something which the world has seen and admired, not just now, right through the ages. If you go and see the history of the world wars, if you go and see the peacekeeping missions of the United Nations, you will find that it is the Indian soldier who has excelled. There are memorials all over Europe today to the Indian soldier who fought gallantly in various battlefields in Europe and North Africa during the Second World War and the First World War. Today, we are admired for the quality of our training. We are considered to be the best trained armed forces in the world today. As far as equipping is concerned, we have some of the best equipment that we can have or ask for, whether it be on ground, for our foot soldiers, for our mechanized forces, or for our Air Force and for the Navy. Imagine, why is India part of the Quad? Three other nations of the Quad are all Pacific Ocean nations. They want India to be part of that because India commands the Indian Ocean. And why does it command the Indian Ocean? It commands the Indian Ocean because of its prowess, technologically and structurally. It's our people, our soldiers, sailors, airmen, who have proven themselves, coupled and supported by this fantastic equipment that we have got. Today, we are making a whole lot of defense equipment within our country. Almost 70 to 80%, I think, is being manufactured locally. It's very creditable. Just a couple of decades ago, we were only importing defense equipment. From small arms to tanks, everything was coming from abroad. Today, we are making fighter aircrafts. Today, India is making its own submarines and ships. It takes a time. It takes a lot of time to come to that age. We have now reached that age. And I don't think we should look back. I think we have today gained that place in the world that we deserve. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, sure, certainly. Thanks for that. Another question is that, uh, it could be a very hot question and could be a question from a common man's mind. So, looking at our last encounters with China, so how you look at this situation at the China border particularly?
Yeah. See, China border has got many areas which are disputed. They have been disputed right since we got independence, and they have continued like that. It is not that these cannot be resolved by peaceful talks. They can be. But both sides have their own views. And in international relations, we need to respect sovereign views of different countries. But that does not mean in any way that you need to be soft, which was considered by the adversaries. And we have proven that we are not soft, that we will not take it down lying down. We have proven that we will guard every inch of our land. The armed forces are an extension of the government. The armed forces work on directions of the government. And we do our bit to ensure that we live up to that direction which the government has given. And I think in both the cases, on our northern borders as well as our western borders, we have ensured and shown our resolve and have maintained that kind of integrity. So I don't think we have anything to worry. Yes, there are gaps still there. There are still areas which need to be ironed out. There are still areas which need to be patrolled and manned 24/7. And we need to maintain a strength till things get back to peaceful normalcy. And we are doing that. That is exactly, if I may echo what the Chief of Army Staff mentioned during the Army Day parade just a few days ago, that we are strong along the border. We are still there. Things are still getting ironed out. And we are in control wherever we are. So that is what I think is the stance which we have. And I think we are doing a good job about it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And like you mentioned, it is an extension of our central government. Our armed forces are. Does there any impact of which kind of central government is running in the center? Does it have impact on the mindset of army or our armed forces?
Okay. Now, as far as the armed forces are concerned, our role is concerned, it is enshrined in the National War Book. Whichever government comes into power, basic credo of national security doesn't change. It is our national security. It is what we are looking at for external protection. And therefore, whatever is happening inside is not necessarily going to affect what the role the armed forces are going to play. Yes, a lot depends on the will of the government in power. A lot depends on the direction which the government in power has given. And yes, that correct direction is what the armed forces are always looking for. And I dare say, till now, the armed forces have got good direction to do their job in a proper manner, in a manner which befits its role to secure the country. As far as the armed forces' internal functioning is concerned, it makes no difference whichever government is in power. We are soldiers. We are trained to do a job, and we will do it to our best. And that is the ethos that we function upon. So I don't think materially that difference comes in.
Okay, thank you, sir. और कोई क्वेश्चन है तो प्लीज आप पूछ सकते हैं अभी. Does anybody have any questions, please?
Sir, good evening.
I don't. Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, Mahesh, go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Mahesh. Sir, thank you for the providing. Good evening, sir, and good evening for FIIP and team and including Ram sir for providing for defense and including India Armed Forces. So because I'm knowing the first and industry insights in this opportunity, this is one of the good session I am attending in the events. Okay, and really congratulating the way of Independence Day and the way of platform to our new upcoming professionals. and I am thanking you taking this topic by intentions, intentional countries, and including our India or must be intentions, especially to Bangladesh, China, and including Pakistan, and especially this type of empowerment will give confidence to our Indian citizens. Thank you for providing the biggest event for the all the team. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, friends, unmute and ask question.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, Ram Athavale. It was really fantastic to learn about a lot of things. Normal people don't know about it, but definitely it will definitely give a lot of motivation. A simple question like, what are the different types of challenges or opportunities faced by Indian armed forces in terms of modernization and new technology? Because now lot of things are added in like AI and drones, and lot of things are. So what do you think about these type of new technology, how we can adopt, or any particular what you call it as the things which are added into the syllabus or whatever the things, but how we can update all these things as far as modernization is concerned?
Yeah, okay. It's a very good question. Armed forces is not just brawn. There is a lot of brain also which is there. And therefore, we need to combine these two in a very positive kind of a manner. And for that, we need the support of excellent, up-to-date, state-of-the-art equipment. If I have state-of-the-art equipment, my challenges get reduced. My capability and efficiency to function in varied kind of operational environments increases. And that is what I would be looking at. Now, when coming to specifics, today we have emphasis on electronics, robotics, artificial intelligence, even biochemical issues, and so on. A lot of research goes on, in isolated pockets. Sometimes this kind of research goes unnoticed. It may be of huge importance and requirement to the armed forces, but the person who's doing that research may not be aware that this expertise is required by the armed forces. And that is where the new initiatives which the government has started, like the IDEX challenge or the DISC startup challenge and so on, where the government is looking at entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs who are doing something really good in a very small, humble manner. But that research or that technology is going to have a great impact on the overall equipment profile of the armed forces. Just to give you a small example, earlier we used to have optical sights to see our target. And as a commander, when I was young, we had to stand up out of our turret of a tank. I'm a tank man. I commanded a tank regiment. So we had to stand outside, and the commander had to use his judgment to ascertain the range of the target. What distance is the target at? It was all a mental judgment which was getting in there. As technology developed, somebody developed a small thing somewhere abroad, which the Indian government in their DRDO also developed. Indian industry developed that. And today we have something called a laser rangefinder, which came in almost about 20 years ago, not now. But that small little device which got added to my sighting systems suddenly gave me the range of the target in accurate manner at the push of a button. It's a small technology, a big technology actually, but a small component which got added to my sighting system inside the tank, and it suddenly changed the perspective of acquiring and engaging targets on the field. It's just a very small example that I'm giving you. Earlier, we used to navigate with the help of stars and landmarks. Those days, the deserts were so clean and so open, it was very difficult to actually identify landmarks there. And one had to, resort to a lot of judgment. Especially during daytime, it used to be a problem. Nighttime, we had the stars to guide us. Today's soldier doesn't understand that liability that we had at that time. A soldier today is just switching on his GPS, he gets exact coordinates, he gets a direction, and he just travels. You have guidance systems which are as small as a shirt button, fitted into missiles which are guiding that missile directly onto the target. You're not going to miss the target. Why? Because your guidance system is precisely homed onto the target. Now, these are small little components which make a huge difference in war fighting. And today, with artificial intelligence coming in, with robotics coming in, especially things like drones and unmanned ground vehicles which are coming in, unmanned underwater vehicles which are coming in for the Navy, they're going to make a lot of difference in the way wars are fought. We have already seen people sitting in the US controlling a drone which is going to fire a missile into the caves of the mountain sides of Afghanistan. Imagine the gunner is sitting in California and firing a missile which is hitting in a cave inside Afghanistan. That is the kind of warfare. So every small little technology which is coming in can be harnessed correctly to gain that advantage on the battlefield. And my message to entrepreneurs and to startups is, do not feel bad if you think that your technology is not showing signs of adoption immediately by the industry. Give it time. The world was not made on one day. And therefore, we need to have patience. We need to have faith in our direction, which we have got, and match the latest which is happening in the world. Don't go copying what is already developed. If you do that, you will be one generation or two generations behind where the world is going. You need to stay with the world or ahead of it. And that is what the industry needs to do. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Shantanu, having a question. It's really nice to hear you and to see you on this holy occasion. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any question, please? Till sir, we would like to know a very memorable event during your service, lifetime event.
I think the most thing which has affected me is the tsunami of 2004, where you did not have a tangible enemy to see, yet there was havoc being wreaked everywhere. It was the feeling of helplessness which comes in when the natural powers are so strong that any amount of expertise or power that you have does not match up to that. And that is where you feel sad that you're not able to give your best in such times. Similar things happen when we have internal strife in our country. For example, we see the Northeast, we see the J&K. These are areas where the local man wants peace. If you go to J&K and ask the common man, they will say we want tourism and not terrorism. Because that is what is going to get the money, the bread on the table. That is where I feel bad, that these are the kind of areas, these are the kind of experiences that I have had, which I feel, especially when you have your own citizen who are getting, put in a direction which is not correct for various reasons, of course. And that is where I think we need to pay attention. We are one nation, and we should stand together as one nation. There are hundreds of uh, dissecting, paths which are there, which as a citizen, my message to the citizen would be: think of your nation. In the armed forces, every soldier thinks only of the nation. We are not affected by caste, creed, religion, or any other such dissenting kind of thought processes, because we are Indians and we fight for our tricolor. And that is the ethos which you should have. So I have had some experiences which have been there in the Northeast, when I was in Andaman Nicobar Islands also, which I felt uh, helpless about at times, that there are paths much beyond which are, affecting these kind of uh, bad things to happen. And we need to correct that. As far as natural disasters are concerned, yes, we are trying to make a huge difference. Today, Indian national disaster response is considered to be amongst the best in the world. We used to have more than 10,000 deaths when the cyclones and the floods used to come in the northeast and the eastern seaboard of ours, just about a couple of decades ago. Today we are talking not even in single numbers. We don't have any deaths. Last year there was not a single death because of the cyclone. That is the kind of expertise that we need to reach. And it's not just in natural calamities that we should do that. We should do that too. Man-made calamities. Today, technology is growing so fast, and that is my core subject actually, the CBRN, incident management, security. CBRN threats are everywhere around us, and we need to pay attention to that. You saw what COVID did to all of us. One virus, small thing which came out somewhere in the Far East, the whole world got affected. Why? I would put it in one single word: negligence. If we had taken precautions at the right time, we would have saved huge amount of lives. Even today, people are wearing the mask at the chin. In spite of 2 years of COVID, people still wear the mask here. I asked a person, why are you wearing a mask here? And I got a reply, अगर ये नाक पे लगाएंगे तो सांस कैसे लेंगे? Come on. It is meant to be worn over your nose and mouth. You are supposed to breathe through that to save yourself. So that is the kind of public apathy which is there, which actually pains me. And my aim nowadays is to raise awareness on these issues amongst the public, to make them aware, to make them more secure. We can do it. And I've gone through some situations which I felt we could have done better. We could have actually changed this, but we didn't. That is where we need to correct ourselves. So I think what you've asked me, I can't narrate a single incident or something like this, but because in my 30 years of service, I've gone through many situations which tested me a lot, and I felt there were some areas where we could have done better, and that is why I feel public awareness is very, very important. And my effort today is, one of the aims of this effort is to raise public awareness on these issues. So thank you for asking that question. While I can't give you specific answer to that, but yes, it is painful at times to see where you could correct a situation and you can't.
Yeah. So thank you. Anybody is having any question, please?
See,
Yeah.
Good evening, Mohite sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Yes, Nitesh.
And
Your question?
I have a question. Yes, sir. Indeed is a wonderful session, and I want to ask a question with Colonel Ram sir.
Yeah.
Will you please, sir, elaborate? Wherein basically we work with the startups, and we want to ask if is there is any specific field or specific area in defense where we can encourage the upcoming budding entrepreneurs to take part, so that a key innovative product can be generated in a defense mechanism. You will guide
Okay.
us so that we will encourage them to have a wonderful product for a defense use.
Okay. If you go back to that one slide which I showed you, where I pictured a tank, and if you see that particular kind of weapon system, and it is the same case whether you have an aircraft or you have a ship, which is a system, it's a collection of subsystems. It's a collection of different types of technologies all put together to make one effective whole. Now, if you just see the case of a tank, because I mentioned the tank, so I functioned with tanks, so I will relate to that. In a tank, you have a crew of 3 people, 3 personnel. You have a driver, a commander, and a gunner. Each needs to operate different types of subsystems inside that tank. The driver has to focus on the mobility of the tank, so he requires a very effective, highly powerful engine which should be able to work in different kinds of climates, different kind of terrain conditions, weather conditions, whether it is winter, summers, or rainy season, or whatever. He requires a suspension and a track system which should be able to withstand the colossal weight of that tank and still make it move in the best possible manner. I'm only addressing the driver's part of it at the moment.
Correct.
He requires a steering system to be able to move the tank and make it as agile as possible to shift from one firing position to another. He requires a complete set of vetronics or vehicle electronics, of sensors and gauges to control all the aspects of the engine and the transmission to get optimal power out of that vehicle. So there are going to be so many systems, from designing good quality pipes or ducts to pistons to the complete engine blocks to fuel feed systems, the kind of fuel filtration that you're talking of, the kind of power generation that you're looking at, the kind of output from the engine, this transfer to transmission correctly with minimal loss of power. You want that power to be transferred to the tracks and the wheels in the correct manner, in the correct force that you want it to be given. You want the speed to be optimal, to be able to maneuver the tank in the correct manner. So you require the driver. Imagine it's a 49 ton vehicle. It's not a small short weight. It's a huge hulk, very heavy. It can, if it goes over something, it just, nothing is left below. Now, with that kind of a huge hulk, you want an agility of a light vehicle like a jeep or a truck. As a driver, I would prefer the agility of a motorcycle actually, but I can't get it in that huge hulk. So what is the best that I can get? So there are going to be rubber technologies, there are going to be metal or alloy technologies which are going to come in, new types of alloys are being developed, new type of seals are getting developed, new types of hydropneumatics are getting developed every day. There are systems, yes, in the yesteryears, we used to have the driver, for example, having gauges which were analog gauges, with needles going up and down. They came up with the digitized versions where you had digital displays showing you what are the engine temperatures, the pressure in the chambers, and all so on and so forth. Everything is coming on a screen next to the driver now. Tomorrow you will have artificial intelligence which is fed into all this, which is going to tell you, okay, this pressure is going up, you need to press so and so to get it down and correct your pressure in this manner. It's that artificial intelligence which will tell you. We haven't reached that stage as yet in such big weapon systems. It's going to come very soon. It's going to come very, very soon. So today's entrepreneur needs to think how I can integrate this into the existing device, this new technology into the existing device. I'm just giving you one example of a driver's control systems inside a tank. But imagine the same thing in a fighter aircraft. In a tank driver system, he has a few minutes to take that decision. In a fighter aircraft, he has a few nanoseconds to take that decision. So the accuracy of output that he requires from his systems has to be that much more better and capable. So therefore, technology is not just getting a new system incorporated. What we as Indians need to focus on is the quality of that technology. We don't want to become, this, you put a system, 4 दिन के बाद खराब हो गया, इसको फेंक दो. That is not what we are looking for. We are looking at something that you develop a particular module, a particular technology. It is so good, the quality is so robust that not just your country, that it must be 10 different countries who would want that technology from you. That is the kind of expertise that needs to be developed. I cannot quantify it in one particular issue that, okay, you focus on rubber, or you focus on electronics, or you focus on textiles, or you focus on metallurgy. Each of these is required. And that's why I showed that tank. It is an amalgamation of all these kinds of technologies inside that. Today we are getting, a common paint on a vehicle. Today we are getting paint which has got spectral connotations, where it will not be seen by a radar. You hide that whole vehicle from radar. That kind of paint, if you paint that whole tank with that kind of a paint, enemy radar may not be able to pick it up. You're talking of stealth technologies. So whichever field you are in, look at what is the new things which are coming in. There is so much of nanotechnology coming in today. Even in textiles, you could start coating textiles. You can coat the combat suit of a soldier with things which can tell him that you had a wound. He has a wearable device which can tell him, okay, what to treat that wound with. What is the first aid he needs to do to that wound? There are suits which will decontaminate themselves today if there is any kind of contamination landing on that suit. So, I'm coming from a huge weapon system down to what the soldier is wearing. So there are minute technologies which are there, which each of these, and the field is huge, the field is vast, all encompassing. Even biotechnology which is there. Today, soldiers are getting, there are countries which are researching into biotechnology in a manner where they are wanting to develop a future soldier who is, got his system so geared up that he doesn't feel fatigue. He doesn't feel pain. He can keep functioning for days together instead of getting fatigued after a day or two. So those are the kind of technologies which are coming up. It's not one specific field, but you need to look at the horizon.
Correct.
And any technology that you go in has got new things coming up. And you can focus on that. I hope I haven't confused the issue more.
These are wonderfully addressed question and answer, sir. Because we need such kind of expertise, na, sir, because some the budding entrepreneur are confused, because I have seen many startups coming with different sectors, but never seen any startup in a defense sector itself. So I,
No,
I
so
was very keen that my startup or the budding entrepreneur come into this sector and continue or contribute in a nation
yes.
building
If
itself.
you go onto the MOD website, the Ministry of Defense website, you
Correct.
will find all the initiatives that the government has made up for getting new startups to develop various kinds of systems, innovations, even R&D
Mm.
in the field of defense. So it's a vast field, and the government is
Mm.
giving a lot of incentive for that.
Mm.
Ram
Okay,
sir,
thank you very much,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you.
with this particular your thought process,
Mhm.
what I basically thinking, academia should connect with the defense thought process. Academia should bring this thought process with the new syllabi perspective, where the engineers will come forward and will make a great innovation within that premises, and they must have tie-up with the defense in a such a syllabi where the talent which is basically coming to engineering, coming to medical, coming to the different streams, they should come together and bond such a bondage towards that areas where we can enhance our country in a different dimension, sir.
Very true. Very true. The service headquarters, all three service headquarters and the MOD is working very closely with the IITs in the country and technical institutions in the country to help nurture the talent, the budding talent in these institutions to look at defense technology in the rightful manner. In fact, there are universities in our country today who have started institutes on defense technologies, and it's a very good initiative, I would say, where engineering students are being urged to look at defense technology with a different perspective altogether. So that is already starting to happen. I agree with you. More and more institutions, especially technical institutions, must get into this kind of a initiative.
We can take initiative from FIIP also. We can make awareness among the society and we'll
Yeah,
bring that many people through our FIIP towards the happening area in that line. That is,
sure,
we can do that also. The
sure,
purpose of FIIP is that only, sir. A
sure.
socio-eco building towards the nation in that line. Right, sir?
Great.
Yeah. Shantu, sir, you have a question? You have raised the hand. Please unmute and please speak.
Yes, yes, sir. My
Yeah, sir.
same question you already asked actually, because nowadays what happened, the new generation is not that much aware of all these struggles on the line, and they are just in their own worlds inside the country. So sometimes it happens their mindset or their struggles, life, or their what we call it as daily fighting with other people and all, because the war is not on the line itself, it is there, but war is here inside the country also. Sometimes it is a mental blockage with all the new generations, and that is because they are not aware of the few things which are the struggle which is going on the line. And I think for that somewhere somehow we have to put that everything in the college level itself, like what are the challenges on the line, how we can change our country, or they are not aware. New generation is not that much deeply aware of all these things.
Yeah.
So what because I'm telling you my example, because my son, he's in Melbourne and he's looking for all the videos of all the brigadiers and all. He was so motivated.
Mhm.
Means without changing a personality development of his own, he's looking for that videos and he changed himself, like see
Yeah.
how these people are doing. So new generation is looking for such type of motivation. Maybe it is from YouTube, or maybe it is through lectures or speakers in the
Yes.
colleges. So I think that type of activity should be there right from the, not from the maybe school, but from the college level.
Yes.
Whatever the college it is engineering college or whatever the college it is. So I think you people have to. I think you are the most, what you call it, the perfect. I think to guide them and.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I must share with you
Yeah.
my Metamorphs Foundation that I am a founding member of. Uh, it is a veteran-driven initiative. Actually, it is Army veterans, Army, Navy, Air Force veterans who have started this foundation. And one of its aims is to raise awareness about the armed forces, raise awareness about national security, and what are the avenues. So, as part of that, we are actually encouraging schools to inculcate or introduce a module on defense and security as part of their curriculum. So, at high school level, especially 9th, 10th or so, uh, this kind of a subject as a module needs to be introduced, so that awareness as to what are our armed forces all about, what are the avenues open, what kind of technology is required for the armed forces, and what contribution can be there from civilians towards this whole thing, that will come into that curriculum. And that is something which we are now talking through our foundation, Metamorphs Foundation. We are talking to these institutions, the schools and some colleges, to start these kind of modules. We are also talking to some universities to start research seats for research in defense and security studies. We would be more than happy to help them with faculty, with expert faculty from within the veteran fraternity that we can provide. We can also help them develop the curriculum. We can help them run the courses because we have that kind of expertise within our service environment. So that is the contribution that can be there from our side. But we are looking at education institutions to come forward to aligned with us so that we can start such kind of training for young budding citizens of our country.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Yeah, Navnath, sir, you were about to say something because you have a question, I hope. Yeah, because he had been in between, no? Mr. Navnath?
Yes, sir.
He is coming. Yeah, please, your question.
एक्चुअली मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा था कि आपका जो 30 इयर्स का जो एक्सपीरियंस है उसमें का जो बेस्ट एक्सपीरियंस जो आप अपने जो ऑडियंस है उनको क्या बेस्ट एक्सपीरियंस बताना चाहेंगे, और ये बेस्ट एक्सपीरियंस के साथ में जो आज के एंटरप्रेनर्स है, उद्यमी हैं, उसके साथ साथ में जो यूथ हमारा इंडिया का है जो जॉब करने वाला है या आगे जाके बिजनेस करने वाला है, उनको आप क्या मैसेज देना चाहोगे?
Okay. The biggest satisfaction that I get today, and I have retired in 2012, so it is more than a decade since I have shed my uniform. But even today, the best satisfaction that I get is a telephone call from one of my Jawans. Anybody. And there are many who keep calling. These are the people whom I have led. These are the people whom I was ready to lay down my life with. These are the people whom I was ready to go to war with. People whom I have seen very closely. And they have that kind of respect for me. Nothing gives me more satisfaction than to receive a call from one of my ex-Jawans. I left my regiment in 2005. After that, I was on various staff appointments till I retired in 2012. So the last I met any of these Jawans whom I'm talking about is 2005. And after 2005, 2 decades later, they call me with so much of love and respect. It goes to show that yes, as a leader, I have made a difference in their lives. I have made a difference to motivate. I can give you an instance. A Jawan of mine who was out on a temporary duty somewhere else, his family was with us in the station. When I say family, his wife. In the army, normally a wife is referred to as a family. So his wife was there with us in the station. She was living in her quarters and she was expecting. A few neighbors and the immediate people knew about her condition. And I was a young officer at that time. And I got a call. We didn't have proper telephones in those days. We had those, dynamo kind of field telephones. And I got a call on that kind of a device that this lady has delivered in the house. And that's the message that I got. As a young officer, I had no clue what is to be done now. It was not part of my regular soldiering. So I did the first thing which came to my mind. I called the ambulance, which we have in every regiment. And we have a trained paramedic with that. I sent that vehicle with that paramedic to the house. And I told the paramedic, I said, unko leke aur seedha hospital leke jao. I rang up the hospital. This is what has happened, and I'm sending a patient to you straight away. And this guy went there with help of neighbors. They got this lady into the vehicle, into the ambulance. Went. That time the hospital was about 13 kilometers away, so it took time to reach there. Thankfully, both in good health, admitted and taken care of. In the evening, me and my wife, we went there to check on them as to they are okay, in good health and what. And very soon, I forgot about that incident. A few years later, I had gone back to the regiment during our, Silver Jubilee celebrations. And here comes this Jawan who had grown in rank by then. He had become a junior commissioned officer, a JCO. And he came up to me and he started touching my feet. I said, come on, what are you doing? Don't do that. We're all together. And behind him was a young girl standing there. And I had forgotten that incident. I didn't even know, I had come back after another 10 years. So it was difficult to remember names also at that time. And he asked that girl to bend down and touch my feet. And then he made a statement which just shocked me. He told that girl, today you're alive because of this gentleman. And I said, what nonsense? What are you telling her? She's a young girl. Why are you telling her such kind of things? He said, नहीं साहब, उस दिन आपने जो एम्बुलेंस भेजा और शाम को जाके चेक किया, ये वही लड़की जो उस दिन पैदा हुई थी. Now I have forgotten that incident. That fellow and his wife is going to carry this thing throughout their lives. It is the relation between the officers and the men whom you command. How you deal with them, how you train them. One of my commanding officers had made a statement in an open forum, and we were getting ready to go to Sri Lanka at that time. I do not want a single widow in my regiment. And as young officers, we didn't understand the impact of that statement. He said, I want you to train and train your men so hard that on the day when the country needs them, they perform and they come back safe and sound. And that is something which I recollected when I took over command of my regiment, that this is what we do. My father-in-law had asked me, every day you wear your uniform and you go to office. करते क्या हो? लड़ाई तो हो नहीं रही है. What do you do? Day in and day out, you're going every day, you come back. What is happening? And I remembered that statement and I told him the same thing. I said, we train for that one day when my country calls for me.
Great.
And that is the ethos on which the armed forces are built. And that is the message which I would like to convey to young entrepreneurs. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in what you're doing. Do not get demotivated by external issues. Your goal should be to excel. And you will if you do it correctly. That is the message which I want to convey.
Great, sir. Great. Very great, sir.
Thank you.
It is touching one, sir.
Come on. And I'm sure all my brethren in the armed forces would agree to what I'm saying.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, sure, sir. Definitely.
So we have here Colonel Pankaj Goyal. I think so.
Yes.
He's your colleague, or
yeah, he's a colleague of mine. He's my NDA coursemate actually, and
Oh.
he is also one of the founder members of Metamorphs Foundation.
Great.
He and me and a few more together have got into this business of grooming young citizens, to instill values in the young citizens, to make them know about the armed forces. And of course, one of the aims is also to look after the veterans and the Veer Naris, give them support as much as we can to get them back to the society.
I would like to snatch the opportunity to request Colonel Pankaj Goyal. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Please come on a video.
Pankaj, can you show yourself?
Yeah.
So, Jai Hind, sir. Jai Hind. Jai Hind.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Sir, as you are listening a lot to Colonel Ram, sir, as being you here, and I don't want to, skip this occasion, saying something from you, adding the thought process with Ram, sir. Yes, Colonel Pankaj.
Sir, Dr. Mohite, sir, actually, Ram is a better spokesperson than I am. I am more of an operations person who goes down on the ground doing the job which Ram proposes.
Oh.
So, Ram has been doing a wonderful work, and he is the right portrayal of what we all do in the defense, in the armed forces. And I personally feel whatever he's been talking, and a great talk that he's taken, and the amount of interest he's ensured in the complete group who joined for this particular class, I was very keen to listen to how our Professor Dr. Ram does, not more as a soldier, but more as a think tanker, a sort of a think tanker. He's a tank man, but with a lot of thoughts in his mind. So he is a wonderful person to be heard, and we are a colleague, and we feel honored when he is a part of the team, the way we are working. So nice of you to have thought about me, and I feel absolutely humbled. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. Ram, it was a wonderful talk.
Thank you, Pankaj. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Coming from you, that's a big thing.
No, it's been a great thing. Yeah, it's been a great thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Pankaj, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, wonderful people. Do you have any question here? Feel free to ask our Colonel Ram, sir. Colonel Ram, sir, I have one question.
Okay.
Have you fought with enemy during your services?
You mean, have I seen active action?
Active action?
No, I haven't. While I was there in the counterinsurgency environment in the Northeast, I was actually controlling operations, intelligence and training at that place. It was a very key appointment, and we planned and executed many operations there very successfully. And I felt part of that whole thing very closely. While I did not go down to the ground because of the appointment which I was holding there, but yes, as far as from my desk, planning and executing these things, yes, I participated there.
Certainly, that is involvement in the war, sir. Unless you plan, then unless you push, the things doesn't happen. The result were absolutely perfect, sir. Wonderful. Yeah.
Pankaj sir, please.
Ram sir.
Yeah, Doctor, what I wanted to actually add on, Ram has a profile of being a tank man. And post 71, we haven't had an opportunity to move tanks into the battlefield. As you rightly said, that planning is more important than execution, because it is always said in the armed forces that the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. It's a very important saying because we train ourselves for such great events like Uri, where you go in, you come out, and you don't lose even a single soldier of yours, which is the asset, which is actually the asset. So Ram has been at a great appointments where he's been doing a number of things and is exposed to much more than actually being with the face on face during the war. Because that is also one activity where you are fighting an individual. But when you are planning, you are fighting the whole scenario, and that is where the whole difference comes in. And we need people like Ram to be so having a vision and the forethought and a foresight, so that the execution goes absolutely without any problems. That is more important as far as the wars are concerned in such particular things. As far as operations are concerned, I too have seen very little of operation, but I was exposed to Operakshat, wherein we dealt with terrorists. And I had the opportunity of facing a terrorist and not being able to kill him.
Oh.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was night 1 o'clock when the whole operation took place. This fellow comes out from the village. He was abusive. He was holding his weapon. He was going across. But when I tried firing in that night area, I could not get him.
Oh.
He also fired bullets at me. If I was not pulled down, I would have been, a martyr by my soldiers. They pulled me down. Saab, aap kya kar rahe types, in that exuberance, you do anything. So that is a reality. So being on the face of enemy and being brave or not being brave is a definition of how you perceive a particular situation. But more important is that you plan and execute and take it forward to that level where you come out winners.
Yes, true. So planner always winner. Planner always winner.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Then maybe in personal life or a business life.
Yes.
Any arena.
Any arena, even family.
Yes.
Every arena. Wonderful.
With this reference, I have one question.
Please, Atul.
So, अपनी भारत की हिस्ट्री में बहुत अच्छे वॉरियर्स रहे, शिवाजी महाराज जैसे। तो आपकी ट्रेनिंग में इनके कुछ वार इंक्लूड है क्या कि एज अ ट्रेनिंग और एज अ रेफरेंस?
Yes.
इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा।
Yes, when we go through various courses and training, and we have what is called the promotion exams for different ranks, we have one of the subjects which is military history, and in that subject we study various kinds of operations, various kinds of campaigns, and we also have to study different military personalities. What is their form of leadership? What are the qualities which they had? What is that which actually led to success at a critical time? So we have different biographies of such military leaders, not just Indian, but also foreign leaders. Like for example, Montgomery or Rommel or Field Marshal Slim. We also have Indian leaders, including Chhatrapati Shivaji. We have the biography of our generals from the Indian Army who have fought famous battles. We also have things of campaigns, different campaigns which Indian troops have fought, which have either failed or succeeded. What were the lessons which have come out from that? And we train on those lessons. We draw, expertise out of that to better ourselves, to better our, strategies, to better our tactics, to better create efficient soldiering on the ground. Whether it is by, just small level tactics to almost theater level strategies. At different levels, these lessons are drawn out, biographies are studied, and we draw out these kind of things and train ourselves. So yes, what you said is correct. We do take cognizance of our previous war heroes and the way they went about the complete operation. What were their shortcomings? What were their good qualities? And draw lessons from that.
Yeah, Pankaj sir.
Yeah, Atulji, just to clarify on Shivaji, he is a role model when it comes to stealth. Right, I will tell you, like, हम लोग बोलते हैं कि आप कितने भी दिशाएं प्लान करेंगे, लेकिन लड़ाई के टाइम पे दुश्मन वो दिशा चुनेगा जो आपने प्लान नहीं किया होगा. बराबर. और वो जो स्टेल्थ है या वो जो मौका है, अगर वो आपने प्लान कर लिया कि दुश्मन किस तरह से आने वाला है आपके ऊपर, तो आप दुश्मन पे जीत पालेंगे, वरना दुश्मन आप पे जीत पालेगा. राइट. और शिवाजी के लिए मशहूर है कि उन्होंने हमेशा वो चौथी डायमेंशन चुनी. जो गो का इस्तेमाल करके उन्होंने पहाड़ियों के किले पर चढ़ने का प्लान किया था, वो शिवाजी महाराज की ही बहुत बड़ी साजिश थी. और उन्होंने वो किला जीता. अब ये हम लोग हिस्ट्री में पढ़े या हमें मिलिट्री हिस्ट्री के द्वारा पढ़ाई जाए, संदर्भ इनका जरूर आता है. और ये उम्र ताउम्र, मतलब ये 1670 की बात है या 1670 की बात है जब शिवाजी महाराज थे. वो लड़ाई का तीसरा या चौथा जो जरिया है, वो हमेशा जागरूक रहने के लिए, हमें चौकन्ना रहने के लिए हमें चेतावनी देता है कि भाई तैयार रहो, दुश्मन कहीं से भी आ सकता है. The wars may have changed, the ways of wars have changed. Today everything is gone electronic, everything is gone AI. But what we achieve out of a war will never be forgotten, because the principles of war remain to be the same from ages. Right. I think Ram can touch upon that. What are the principles of war? But they remain to be same. चाहे वो शिवाजी महाराज ने करा या मुगलों ने करा या पानीपत की लड़ाई में हुआ या अकबर ने करा या राणा प्रताप ने किया या वो मॉन्टगोमरी साहब ने किया या सुन त्सू ने कहा. मतलब ये पुराने वो लीडर्स हैं जिन्होंने इसको बार बार चरितार्थ किया है कि द प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ वॉर विल रिमेन द सेम. So the roles remain to be the same.
So the question is here, sir.
Yes.
The question came from our Yogesh.
Ji.
We would like to listen, sir, the principles of war.
Yeah. So what we'll do is in one of our next sessions.
Correct. I was about to say that.
Yeah.
It cannot be just covered. It cannot be just covered.
It cannot be
like that. Yeah.
given a small this thing. So we can have a specific session on that. Like I mentioned to you, we would like to do more sessions on, the armed forces, the way they function, starting from the national defense down to, the what is the structure of the armed forces, what are the principles which they work on, whether for war or for peace. And mind you, a lot of these principles of war are very relevant in the industrial sector or in the private sector also.
True.
In fact, the complete gamut of management studies that are being taught today have actually been drawn from the military management studies which came out during the World War I and World War II.
Yes.
And it is from that today's management studies have actually evolved. So there is a lot to learn from the way wars are fought, the way militaries are run. So we will take them up one by one in different sessions,
Certainly,
and
certainly.
we will make a plan and share with you.
Sure, sir. Because I know that number of theories came with the psychology and everything from the Second World War.
Yeah.
Whatever theories came, Maslow theories, all together theories came in that line.
Correct.
So being a management professor, so I am aware. Yes, Pankaj sir, you want to say something?
Just to add, today we are talking about AI, internet. What has got us the internet? It was used in one of the wars from where the internet got through, the web link started, and today the complete world is living on the internet. So army, because by virtue of, trying for a betterment, has brought in a big change in the humanity, a big change in the human lives as well. So there's a lot to learn, and Dr. Ram is the right person to talk about a lot more. Thank you very much.
Certainly, Pankaj sir. Already we have discussed, and FIIP and Ram sir is going to be forever with his mission, vision, all together with his NGO also. So you are also by default connected with us, Pankaj sir. So wonderful people. I'm very, very happy. Yeah. Navnath sir, you want to share something? Yeah,
Yes,
please.
पंकज सर, जैसे कि हम लोग मैंने इससे पहले आपको एक बात पूछी थी कि आपने आपके सर्विस में क्या बेटरमेंट किया है, तो अभी मेरा उसी को कंटिन्यूशन में मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ आपको कि आपका जो 30 ईयर का सर्विस रह चुका है नेशनल फोर्स के साथ, इसमें आपको सबसे बड़ा चैलेंजिंग क्या लगा? क्या चैलेंज था आपके लिए? सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज क्या था? और इसके साथ साथ में इसको ही कंटिन्यूशन में दूसरा एक सवाल है कि आपके पूरे फोर्स सर्विस में आपका फेल्यूर क्या है?
ये सवाल राम सर के लिए पूछ रहे हैं
हाँ,
ना?
राम सर के लिए मैं पूछ रहा हूँ। और ये दोनों क्वेश्चन को कनेक्ट
मैं
दूसरा क्वेश्चन है कि ये दो चीजें जो है, सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज, सबसे बड़ा फेल्यूर, और ये दोनों चीजों में से आपने क्या सीखा? और हमारे जो यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स है या यूथ है, इंडियन यूथ आगे यहाँ से आगे आने वाला, तो इसके लिए आप क्या मैसेज देना चाहोगे?
नवनाथ सर, इससे पहले कि राम इसको अपने पहलू में समझाए, देखिए फेलियर तो मैं आपके सामने बता चुका हूं। मतलब 30 साल फौज में गुजारने के बाद मैं एक टेररिस्ट मेरे हाथों से निकल गया।
ओके,
दिस इज द बिगेस्ट फेलियर एज अ सोल्जर, राइट? But biggest challenge with me is that I keep any human who I take him during the war, I bring him back alive. Is the biggest challenge. In the civil, we don't think like that.
Okay.
You will be surprised, Navraj sir, we sell death. We sell death to our people. We motivate them to a level they are ready to sacrifice for the nation with their lives. But in the business, we sell only things. So for me, the biggest challenge is that when I'm selling death, but I'm still saving the life of the person. And biggest failure, which I've already shared with you all, that I was there and I could not bring down a terrorist.
Okay.
So these are two wide apart things. I hand over to Ram to you to take up
करने से पहले मैं
details.
आपको पूछना चाहता हूँ कि आपने फेल्यूर भी बताया और आपका सबसे चैलेंजिंग जॉब भी बताया, तो इससे आपको खुद को क्या सीख मिलती है और आप हमारे इंडियन यूथ को क्या बताना चाहोगे, क्या मैसेज देना चाहोगे?
सर, जिंदगी में कोई भी और सक्सेस और कोई भी फेलियर आपके दिमाग को नहीं खाना चाहिए।
ग्रेट,
जस्ट कंटिन्यू टू डू योर वर्क।
ग्रेट सर, ग्रेट।
Just follow your principles and continue to do your work. Failures and success are a part and parcel of your life.
Great.
And you face it every day.
True.
बिल्कुल सही बोला आपने।
Yeah,
thank you, sir.
Yeah, Ram sir.
Firstly, the biggest failure. I won't call it failure actually, but something negative. And I'm sure Pankaj will bear with me in that. The biggest negative which you feel is to see the body of your slain soldier. Somebody whom you were commanding, somebody who looked up to you as a leader. And you come to a stage at a time when in action that person is killed. Whether it reflects that way for the rest of the crowd, I don't know. But individually to the leader, it spells failure. And that is one thing which I have felt not once but twice. Unfortunately, we had a couple of people who died in action while in JNK. They had gone from my unit to that place, to the Rashtriya Rifles, and two of them succumbed to injuries in an ambush. And at somewhere in my mind, I felt I failed them in not having trained them adequately. As far as challenging situations are concerned, the army is made of a huge variety of people from all walks of life. They come there. All parts of your country, they come there. The challenge is to get the job done from the right person. There are people who come from the south of our country, a lot of them coming from cities with a more intellectual bent of mind. You find people from some parts of our northern part of our country who are very brawny people, who can do a whole lot of physical stuff, not so good with the brains. As a leader, your challenge is to read your men correctly. It is for you to read the men so accurately that you give them the correct task which is required to be done in battle. If you give a person the wrong task, you might end up in failures. So you must know your people so intimately, so correctly, that you in battle don't need to think. You know who's going to do what, and it's an automated kind of a system, because then there is no time to think. I functioned with tanks. Inside a tank, as a commander, I don't only have to control the tank and the environment around me and to get the targets for my gunner to fire on, but in case my gunner gets hit, I should be able to use the gun and fire and become the gunner of the tank. In case my driver gets hit, I should be able to get into the driver's seat and drive the tank. And also at the same time, as a senior commander, be able to control 14 tanks, 45 tanks at one time. That is the kind of expertise, that is the kind of challenge which comes up as you grow higher in that particular field. And like Pankaj very rightly mentioned, the difference is 24/7 you are responsible of your men. In the civvy street, 9 to 5. After 5 till next day 9 o'clock, you're not responsible for that person. What happens with his family, you're not responsible. I gave you that example of the family issue in my unit, which I faced. As a commander of the troops, I am responsible for that person, whether he's on leave, whether he's on duty there, whether his family is there or not. Collective, I am the boss, and I am responsible 24/7, 12 months of the year. I need to motivate him to such an extent, like Pankaj mentioned, to face a bullet for me, for the nation. Not just producing results 9 to 5. What is your output? His output would be measured by the way he functions against enemy fire, which is a totally different kind of performance parameter than any civil parameter that you can say. That is the kind of motivation, that is the kind of challenge which leaders have. And it's a continuing challenge. It's not a single kind of a challenge. It is years and years together. You're building upon that challenge. Different places, different units, different headquarters, you're faced with different kind of clientele, if I may use that term, which is a very wrong term actually. It's your colleagues, your command, and they need to look up at you. And that's why I mentioned that the best thing which I feel is, even after 20 years, 25 years of leaving my unit, if I get a call from my jawan, sab, आपसे बात करने का जी चाहता था, इसलिए कॉल किया. It's enough for me. I don't need any more medals. That is the medal which I want. That is the challenge. That is the kind of leadership which is required. And I must put it on record here. The officer-man relationship in the Indian Armed Forces is far, far superior to almost anywhere in the world. That kind of camaraderie, that kind of oneness, that kind of faith in your leadership is supreme in India. You don't see it anywhere else. And I mentioned about the United Nations missions and the operations which we have been functioning, the peacekeeping operations. That is the reason why Indian troops are wanted there. So yes, there have been places where you feel failed. There have been places where you feel challenged. But then you need to come through with that. If I don't want to share this, but one of the biggest challenge I faced is after my retirement, after having gone through everything, and I got diagnosed with cancer and stage 4 with no visible symptoms at all. But like Pankaj mentioned, I have to see through beyond for that success. And that's what is the motivation, which the message which me and Pankaj both are trying to convey. That motivation, don't leave that. That faith in yourself, don't leave that. So that is the message which I think must go down. Yeah.
सर, आज ये
Wonderful, sir.
गणतंत्र
Wonderful.
दिवस के शुभ अवसर पे आपने बहुत काफी अच्छी चीजें हम लोगों को सिखाई है, और सही में जरूरत है इसकी कि कोई भी हो, कुछ भी सिचुएशन हो, आपको हारना नहीं है, आपको
Yes.
छोड़ना नहीं है. वो बिजनेस हो, पर्सनल लाइफ हो, सिक्योरिटी हो, नेशनल सिक्योरिटी हो, जो भी कंडीशन हो, आप जहां पे भी हो, आपको हारना नहीं. सो बहुत अच्छा मैसेज आपने दिया है, और एक्चुअली मुझे इनर वॉइस से यही मैसेज आपके पास से एक्सपेक्टेड था कि जो हमारे यूथ को बहुत जरूरत है. अभी जो हमारा जेड जनरेशन है, ये जेड जनरेशन को बहुत सारी जरूरत है ये सारी चीजों की, कि इथिक्स, मॉरलिटीज, कंटिन्यूएशन ऑफ वर्क, हार्ड वर्क, ये सारी चीजों की बहुत सारी जरूरत है. और ये जब तक इंप्रूवमेंट नहीं होता है, तब तक कल का यूथ हमारे देश के लिए और उसको खुद के लिए प्रिपेयर नहीं हो पा रहा है. हाँ, लेकिन यस, आप जैसे लोग अगर हमारे जैसे प्लेटफॉर्म के ऊपर से इस तरह से लोगों से बात करते हैं, लोगों को कुछ इससे बताते हैं, सिखाते हैं, तो डेफिनेटली इस चीज का हेल्प होने वाला है. और मुझे इसका एश्योरेंस है कि हम लोग जो कर रहे हैं आज के डेट में, और यहाँ से आगे भी कोई भी मॉनेटरी बेनिफिट के अलावा हम लोग ये सारी चीजें लोगों के पास दे रहे हैं, तो इनडायरेक्टली लोगों को इसका हेल्प होने वाला है, देश के इकोनॉमी में हेल्प होने वाला है, देश के डेवलपमेंट में हेल्प होने वाला है. सो मुझे खुद के ऊपर प्राउड है आज के डेट में कि आप जैसे लोग हमारे साथ में जुड़ रहे हैं, हम आपके साथ जुड़ रहे हैं, और कुछ ना कुछ देश के लिए छोटी सी चीज हम लोग करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. सो थैंक यू राम सर कि आपने इस प्लेटफॉर्म के ऊपर आए, आपने बहुत सारी चीजें यहाँ पे शेयर की. डेफिनेटली आपके पास से, पंकज सर के पास से हम लोगों ने आज बहुत सारी चीजें सीखी है. यहाँ से आगे भी सीखते रहेंगे, और आपका साथ कंटिन्यूअसली FIIP के साथ में रहेगा. ये मैं आपके पास से एश्योरेंस दे रहा हूं मेरे टीम के लिए।
यस यस, थैंक यू सो मच।
सो
और हमारे कार्यक्रम का जो समारोपण होगा वो वंदे मातरम के साथ होगा दोस्तों। सो नेशन सैल्यूट तो मॉर्निंग हुआ है, और भी नेशन सैल्यूट के साथ विदाई लेंगे, कल के लिए नहीं, हमेशा के लिए एक साथ रहने के लिए। तो हम वंदे मातरम के साथ इस प्रोग्राम को एंड करने जा रहे हैं। नवनाथ जी वंदे मातरम प्ले कीजिए, हम सब खड़े रहेंगे।
श्योर। मैं सब लोगों को रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि अपनी अपनी जगह पे खड़े रहिए, ड्यू टू रिस्पेक्ट टू द वंदे मातरम।
वन्दे मातरम्, वन्दे मातरम्, सुजलाम् सुफलाम् मलयज शीतलाम्, सस्यश्यामलाम् मातरम्, वन्दे मातरम्। शुभ्रजोत्स्ना पुलकितयामिनी, फुल्लकुसुमिता द्रुमदलशोभिनी, सुहासिनी सुमधुरभाषिणी, सुखदां वरदां मातरम्, वन्दे मातरम्, वन्दे मातरम्।
भारत माता की
जय। थैंक यू राम सर।
थैंक यू सो
We'll
मच।
connect